From January 11th to the 23rd, I visited Singapore, the land where my family is from. I used to visit here very frequently, usually with 1-month stays. As I got older, the visits became fewer and far in between. I filmed this before I moved to Japan because I wanted to see my family once more before I worked abroad. This was also my first time outside the United States since the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I hadn't visited Singapore since summer of 2019. What do you do when you have terrible jet lag at 5 o'clock in the morning? You take a morning swim, and I had the whole pool to myself. Also, I got to enjoy a very beautiful sunrise and the natural sounds of the animals from Singapore. One thing I do really appreciate about Singapore is its walkability. Just about 15 to 20 minutes a walk away from my godmother's condominium is Toa Payoh Station. Not only does it connect you to the rest of the monorail transit system, which Singaporeans call the MRT, it also has many shops, cafes, and places where you can enjoy a good meal under $10. Everything you need is just a short walk away. Right behind Toa Payoh Station is a Toa Payoh Park, where I took a nice little stroll and enjoyed a little patch of nature. What is the weather like in Singapore? It's hot. It is very hot all year long, as Singapore is very close to the equator. It is like summer all 4 seasons, and it can get very muggy sometimes, so I don't recommend you bring jeans. Bring as many shorts as you can. And it rains very often too, so if you want to bring an umbrella, that's not a bad idea. Here is some video footage of our bus ride to downtown Singapore. I hope this gives you a general idea of how the city looks like, and if I'm not mistaken, the route we took was bus route 166. This may change, so just be mindful of that. Here is some footage of Vivo City, a very popular mall in Singapore. A very famous mall in Singapore that you can actually take a sky train to Rasa Sentosa Resorts World, which is very famous for tourists, as well as Universal Studios. However, during this trip, I just came to buy some gifts for my nephew from a mini-zoo in this mall. As you can tell, there's quite a lot of luxury goods in this mall. I didn't buy any of those though because they're still pretty expensive. We did get some good dessert here in the food court. On this morning, I was still suffering from pretty bad jet lag, so I took a very early morning jog. Even though it looks like I'm running, that was solely just to get my heart rate up. The truth is, I felt very safe running through this part of Singapore. Singapore is known as one of the safest countries in the world, and that is no lie. I didn't have to keep looking over my shoulder during this early morning run. Now here is one of Singapore's well-known sites known as Orchard Road. Orchard Road is known as a shopping mecca of Singapore because it's home to many mega malls, fashion boutiques, and department stores. There is just so much life on this street, and the Singapore Ion, which is the glass and metallic looking curving building with a beautiful architecture, by the way. You will see many street performers performing or singing or on the streets is known as busking, and you can do it if you have the right permits. My cousin actually did it here before. If you're wondering when's a good time to visit Singapore, I highly recommend doing it during the Lunar New Year season, which is around late January to mid to late February, because as you can tell, this is the year of the dragon, and the whole town gets very festive up. There's decorations everywhere, lanterns and lights, people performing on the streets, and you'll even see some conventions selling Lunar New Year goods. What is the primary language used in Singapore? English. The four main languages of Singapore are English, Mandarin Chinese, Tamil, and Malay. But most of the locals will automatically speak to you in English, so anyone coming from a Western country shouldn't have a hard time communicating here. Did you know that Singapore actually has its own version of English called Singlish? Here's a couple examples. Would you like this? Becomes you want? We can do this for you. Becomes can. I think we can do this. Becomes can lah. Do you want this or not? Becomes you want this meh? Those are just a few examples of Singlish. I will admit this about Singapore, there's almost always something to do. If you're ever bored at home, you can just come down to the shopping center and have a nice night out. On this day, I went back to Vivo City, and this time I did take the SkyTrain to Rasa Sentosa. Rasa Sentosa is very well known for tourists because it has the Universal Studios Singapore, along with many luxurious hotels, casinos, shopping malls, and restaurants all around. There it is, the famous Universal Studios Globe, but I did not come to go to Universal Studios because one, I'm not actually a huge fan of amusement parks, and two, I actually came for the SEA Aquarium, one of my favorite aquariums in the entire world. SEA Aquarium Singapore is one of the largest aquariums in the entire world, as it is the home to over 100,000 aquatic animals, and the aquarium holds over 18 million liters of water. The aquarium contains exhibits featuring creatures from all major oceans and recreates their national habitats, and the aquarium also hosts endangered species to prevent their extinction. These jellyfish are so beautiful. I actually took some photos and made them my new wallpaper. I absolutely adore the observatory room. This huge aquarium holds over 18 million liters of water and contains creatures you almost never get to see in aquariums, such as manta rays and even hammerhead sharks. If you can, I recommend you just find a nice spot here, sit down, listen to very ambient music, and just meditate. It is so therapeutic.
Look at that! Oh, that looks like camouflage. I thought that was the eyes on the body. Yeah. I thought that was the eyes.
See that our models over here are quite colorful, and this exhibit especially, it's very, very bright.
Afterwards, I just took a nice little stroll around the shopping centers of Rasa Sentosa. such a shame. In this elevator, there's usually very beautiful visuals showing around, but looks like they were down today. Bummer. This is just what the Sky Tram looks like on the way back to Vivo City. And if you're wondering, these are the Sentosa cable cars. You can take them from Mount Faber or Faber Peak, Singapore, and it'll be like a gondola ride, which will give you a beautiful aerial view of Singapore and will land you at the resort island in Sentosa. I took it many years ago and it was a very stunning experience. Here it is, the famous Marina Bay Sands where Crazy Rich Asians was filmed. The parking lot was very crazy, so we parked across the street at the shops at Marina Bay Sands. As you can tell, shopping is a very, very big part of Singapore life. This here is called the Digital Light Canvas, and it is by TeamLab, as in the same company that makes the beautiful lights in Tokyo. The price to enter here is 12 Singaporean dollars. You see that flower-shaped building? That is called the Lotus. Outside by the harbor, there are light and fountain shows. Even though the lights are beautiful, the fountain show was a little bit underwhelming in my opinion. I think the main star of the show was still the Louis Vuitton. Why are all these people gathering here? It is for this display called the Rain Oculus by Ned Khan, which is basically a man-made whirlpool, which is honestly very captivating. It'll actually funnel water into the other side and you can see the downpour from the mall. Alright everyone, here it is. The view from the top of Tower 3. About 191 meters high. Even though this site is beautiful, it was kind of terrifying holding my camera to film the top of this. Like, what happens if I dropped it? This may be an unethical life hack, but to go to the observation deck of Marina Bay Sands, you would normally pay over 30 Sing dollars. However, there are two restaurants at the top, and the ones excluding C'est La Vie do allow you to buy a drink or food no matter how much, and it'll give you a sky terrace view of Singapore. And how we found out, the restaurant C'est La Vie turned us away because we weren't hotel guests at the time, and we transferred over to Tower 1 and ate at a cafe called Lavo. But don't worry, we spent more than $8 there. My godmother had a gift card, so we ended up spending a lot more. How sweet is this? How often do you go on a morning stroll and see a little herd of wild monkeys? These guys were so sweet and didn't try to steal anything from me at all. But no, I didn't offer them any food though. I normally don't feed wildlife. I kind of felt bad. Off camera, I had to shoo the monkeys away from the road because they were blocking the car and they hissed their teeth at me. Sorry, monkeys. Is it me or are these wild parrots? I'm not a zoologist, so if someone could shed some light, that would be appreciated. Do these buildings look familiar? You might have seen these on quite a few postcards from Singapore because this is Gardens by the Bay. The three main buildings of Gardens by the Bay are Cloud Forest, Floral Fantasy, and the Flower Dome. They also have a Kingfisher Wetlands and Super Tree Observatory too. On this day, we just went to the Flower Dome though. The lady looking at the oranges there is my grandmother. This was actually my second to last day in Singapore, and I wanted to take her somewhere that she really enjoys. My grandmother loves flowers and fruits. Her favorite flowers are the hydrangeas and dahlias, so I thought the flower dome would be the perfect place to spend my second to last day with her.
Dear visitors, please be reminded that eating and drinking is not allowed at the sanctuary. Kindly also do not touch our plants and flowers. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding.
These are beautiful.
No, this thing. Then lion.
Aren't the Lunar New Year decorations and exhibits absolutely beautiful? That's why I recommend coming during the months of January and February. On my final night, my family and I decided to have one last night out at Chinatown because Lunar New Year in Chinatown, you know what that means. This beautiful temple here is known as the Sri Mariamman Temple, one of the most recognizable features in Singapore. And it's also the oldest Hindu temple in Singapore, being constructed in 1827. If you guys know me from my art channel, you would know how much I adore Tintin and how much my heart sparked when I saw the Tintin store only for it to fizzle out by the sight of it being closed. Darn it. I leave you off with a little glimpse of Changi Airport. I spent most of my time saying goodbye to my family, so I didn't film much. But overall, I hope this gave you a great glimpse of Singapore. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you do visit or have visited, please let me know your experience in the comments below. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a great day, and bon voyage!